Mike, good morning. What's up, man?
What's going on? How you doing, Austin?
Good morning. Well, look, I just got done having some eggs and some sweet potatoes. The big purchase around the Pothast household this week, Mike, was an air fryer.
Ooh.
And so
I don't even know what those are or how those work or anything like that. You're going to have to explain this to me.
Well,
how do you fry without grease? Do you put, is there grease that goes in it, like oil or whatnot?
I mean, you can put the grease and oil in there, and you don't have to. I think Nicole made it with a little bit of, olive oil or something like that. But so right, she diced up some potatoes. I already scarfed them down. She diced up some potatoes. She tossed them in the oil, and then you put them in this magic round pot, and and then 8 minutes later, out pops cooked potatoes. And they're good.
Okay,
they're delicious. I don't know what to tell you. Good morning, everybody, by the way. I got a couple of fun things actually this morning, Mike.
What'd you got?
I didn't even tell you about this one. So a couple things. First and foremost, good morning. If this is your first time on our whatchamacallit, on our Q&A, welcome. On our whatchamacallit, on our Q&A, welcome. And hey, listen, so here's what we do is we answer questions. Anything, what's up, Rashiko? Anything real estate related that's on your mind, let us know, and we will make sure that we answer it. And by the way, if there were ever a week, now look, we always come prepared with some material. But if there were ever a week that you were going to put a question in, today is the day, because we really need some questions asked. Because we were like, we were trying to figure out, like, oh my gosh, we had a little meeting and tried to figure out what we were going to talk about. And we were like, you know what? Let's lean hard into the questions from the people. So questions from the people. Make sure that you answer questions. I'm Austin Pothast. I'm the director of sales on the team. Mike Perna is our CEO. We're also golfing tomorrow. Happy Father's Day for all the fathers. Fox Creek
or Fox Glen or Fox something or other over in Livonia on 7 Mile.
Can you confirm there'll be foxes there?
No, but there might be deer.
Okay.
Probably deer.
Okay. Yeah. Foxes are nocturnal, aren't they?
I think so. I mean, the pictures you see have like with the eyes with they're glowing type of thing.
Yeah,
they're probably nocturnal.
I'm pretty sure you see a fox during the day, there's a problem. There's like rabies or something like that. But anyway, good morning, and throw in your questions. And by the way, again, I'm really leaning on you listeners today. If there were ever a day to throw in questions, today's the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So doesn't even matter. Okay, so I've got one thing that did happen in real estate news this week.
Yeah.
And not exactly what we're talking about. Don't want to rile anybody up. It shook up the Dow and the Russell, which had its worst week since October of last year.
Yep.
Right. So the Fed announced that they may be, not certainty, but maybe raising interest rates a year earlier than they previously said. So they've been considering keeping interest rates low right to the end of 2023. Now they're looking at the end of 2022, right? And that kind of shook things up. That shook up a little bit of investor confidence. That shook up, those markets which react a lot faster. In the real estate world, again, that just means that we now have a finite amount of time to take advantage of low interest rates. And that amount of time is under 18 months.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
So to even back this train up a little further, Mike.
Yeah.
So the Fed, right? So what the Fed is it's a combination of, I think, 6 banks across the country.
Yeah.
Right. Federal banks across the country, and they come together and they have a meeting and they decide on essentially the interest rates in which banks can borrow from them. I mean, essentially that's what it is, right? So what a bank does, just like if you bought a T-shirt from Walmart buys that T-shirt from whatever factory, and then they put their margin on it, and then they sell it to you. The banks actually do the same thing with money, believe it or not, right? They buy money, and they put a margin on it, and they sell it to you, right? And so what the Fed will do is they analyze what's going on in any given economy, right? They meet 8 times a year,
something like that, 4 to 6, maybe 8,
4 to 6, 8, something like that. And so what they do is they have these levers to push and pull the economy. And so 70% of what our economy is here in America is just the stuff you and I buy. It's like it's a consumer-based economy, right? And so one of the things that the Fed will do is they'll make money, like the interest rates lower, so that instead of us sitting that money into a bank account, you'll get out and spend it. Right.
Right.
Same kind of things. Like the really cheap money allows people to refinance, which means that they have lower monthly payments, which means that they can buy more things. Cheap money means that businesses can invest in the business and create more jobs and right and boost their profits and those kind of things. And so if they see the economy ramping up, what they'll do is they'll raise interest rates. It's just kind of like a little bit of a break. Like it's just like it's their version of pumping the brakes a little bit.
Yep.
So they'll do it like when the economy is going up, they'll do it with inflation. They'll do it. And so invariably things will get more expensive, right? So like your credit card rates will get more expensive. Your saving rates will get, like your rates on your savings account will get a little bit better on the plus side. I'm not good enough to, anyway. The money in which businesses can borrow money will get a little more expensive, right? They'll kind of, it's a way to just kind of slow the economy down, right? So what was interesting is rates have been so low for so long that it was like, man, where are they going to go? It's like, you know what I mean? Like if we need to boost the economy up anymore, like where do we even go with it? You know what I mean? The other thing is, sorry, I'm just trying to get the backstory on Fed and rates. So about a year and a half ago, Mike, a year ago, I think the Fed came out and really unprecedented. They had never, I mean, maybe not never, but it's like, this is really unprecedented. They came out and said, hey, we don't anticipate raising interest rates for 2 years. Yeah. Right? Like they came out and said, we don't plan on raising interest rates for a couple of years. And so it was like, whoa, for the Fed to come out and say that, you know what I mean? And so now they've kind of dipped their toe in the water on backing out that. And what that tells us is that the economy is speeding up, right? I mean, the economy is in a healthy place, so they wouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean? So anyway, so that's the backstory behind the Fed and rates. All right, go, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, and there are a couple things going on there, and Mark's kind of touching on both of them, I think. As far as real estate and other things are concerned, in your opinion, that real estate prices will keep increasing? Yes. Just in a word, yes. And the reason for that is because for the life of me, I can't see any sort of an indicator that would even remotely suggest otherwise. Now, that said, will they increase? Will they increase the way that they have been over the last 24 or 36 months? No, probably not. Honestly, probably not, because that just goes back to affordability, right? So, you know, over in 2020, we saw about a 14% price increase that entire year. In Metro Detroit, it was actually around 15%. We beat the market. We beat the U.S. Here we are in 2021. I think we're going to end the year somewhere between 11 and 13%. That seems to be where we're going, which is, again, it's a ginormous increase. I mean, those are, they don't sound like big numbers when you walk into Best Buy and you see, you know, washers and dryers marked 30% off. 10% doesn't sound like a big number, but it's a big number. And the reason 3 to 1, right? So we've been hovering about 2.8 to 4% wage increase year over year for the better part of a decade. Yeah. But the prices, I mean, literally was 4 or 5x that increase last year, and now 3x that increase this year. There's only so long that can go for, right? But eventually, it'll end up settling in at or a little bit above what the wage increases are, and that just always happens, right? That's just what happens, right? You know, we've got a lot of historical data around that. So to answer the question, yeah, I think we're going to continue seeing those prices increase this year. If you're shopping for a home, buy sooner rather than later, because by the time those interest rate hikes are here, I think our market will be up 15 or 18%.
Yeah.
So if you buy a $300,000 house today, the home will be worth somewhere in that, let's call it 330 to 350 range, 18 to 24 months from now. And then from there, we'll see a steady Eddie increase in prices, but I don't see prices coming down. Now,
they might be slow because, right, what will end up happening is you'll just get some buyer fatigue. Like it'll just, the amount of increase will outpace wages, and eventually people will just back off.
Well, and also, and you touched on this one. So the cost of living seems to be going up too. Yes, inflation is rampant right now. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in some cases it's temporary, in some cases it's permanent, right? So if we look at like lumber, for example, lumber, there were all those news stories in the first couple of months of the year about how lumber had 3x and almost 4x in price. And now lumber's come down almost 50% over the last 40 days, which is why we haven't seen those stories anymore, right? In the news. When was the last time that we heard a lumber story? Yeah, about 30 days ago, right?
Yeah.
So there are some temporary inflation issues which have to do more with supply chain than actual demand, because the demand had not significantly increased for lumber. As an example, it did increase, but not significantly. Yeah. But the lumber mills back last year thought that the demand would go way down, and so they didn't have to pay stocking for inventory. They just cut their production lines, and that happened in many industries, not just lumber, but industries, right?
Yeah.
Now, inflation, a lot of times the Fed, the government can tap down on inflation and get it back to a more reasonable level, again, by raising interest rates. And Austin, just for that same reason that you're saying, like if somebody starts making a bit of money in their bank, they're more apt to leave their money there. If somebody has to pay more for a product, they're less apt to go and buy that product, right? If somebody has to pay more, this sounds horrible, but it's true, more on a monthly payment on a house, that gives them less discretionary income to go and buy those goods and drive up the demand and drive up the demand where the supply isn't there.
Yeah.
If
you guys are feeling it, like there's a lot of news sources talking about inflation, right?
Yeah.
If you're feeling it, right? Like if you go to the grocery store and you're feeling it, there's a reason. So the way it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's a Bureau of, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they do a thing called CPI, Consumer Price Index. And like all they do, imagine just like this giant grocery cart, and they throw a bunch of common things that you buy every single day, milk, cheese, eggs, cars, whatever, and they throw it in this big grocery cart, and then they just measure year over year how much more that cart is versus it was last year, right? That's a CPI. Right. It's like if you're feeling it at the grocery store, it's because it's real. They're not making that stuff up. You know what I mean?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. And the easiest way to get that under control, that's it. That's literally the easiest way to get that done. Increasing supply to get inventory under control, that's harder to do. Now, it can, not only can it be done, but it will be done. It'll just take a little bit of time to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And actually, there's a good example. So there was an economist, and I forgot, it was under Johnson, Carter, or Reagan. God, it might have been even Nixon. I don't even remember. But he put out this entire study about how the U.S. is gonna run out of oil because, like in the 50s and 60s, and then into the 70s, like our increases in our oil usage dictated that we would actually be using 100% of the oil supply, 100%. By 1985, right? Yeah. And it would cause this whole world crash and all of this stuff. But what he did not take into account was American ingenuity. At the end of the day, if somebody's willing to pay enough money, somebody else is going to be willing to sell it, right? And then all of a sudden, we saw OPEC almost double their oil production between 1970 and 1985. We saw the United States double their oil production. We saw other countries double this. We saw fracking happening. Whatever needed to happen happened. It just took a little time to get there.
Yeah.
And that's where interest rates can be a little more immediate. And that's where the Fed can step in and throttle an economy a little bit more today. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the interesting part about an open like just an open economy like we have, like a capitalistic economy like we have, it's like electric vehicles or like solar panels or all these other, like they'll take off when there's a real need. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And by the way, you're already starting to see the foundation with that kind of stuff, but it's just interesting how that works. What is your preferred news outlet for real estate news? Huh. I read a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I read a bunch of stuff. I read Yahoo. I read CNBC. I read The Morning Brew. I read I read Inman. I read a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I read the stuff that comes out of the National Association of Realtors. I read a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
No, and that's a good point. And it on the same way, Cody. I list of places I go for content, or list of content that I have that gets brought to me, should I say. But the Morning Brew is a great one. They have
Morning Brew. If you go in, look up the Morning Brew. It's just like a daily email, and it's like it's quick. It shows up at like 6:30 in the morning or something, right? 6:30, something like that. And like it's just like a quick. Here's everything that's going on in the news type thing. It's good. Really good.
It's just a couple of guys from U of M that saw a need for an email newsletter that was a 5 to 10 minute read every morning, and it's largely about finance. There are a couple of the brews out there, like the marketing brew, the retail brew, the emerging tech brew, of which I read all of them because I think they're fun, especially emerging tech, because I'm a nerd like that. Inman News, definitely read that. Not necessarily daily, just depending on what articles are written, because they have articles written all over the map, not just about what's going on in real estate, but how to better yourself in real estate, which is nice, or marketing, or whatever that looks like. Case Shiller, whenever they put out their reports, I really dive deep into those. Because with the Case Shiller Index, which tracks home prices down to the metro and mini metro area, you'll see whenever it comes out like twice a year. They do their reporting. You'll see a bunch of people be like, "Oh, look, home prices went up X amount of %," or "This is what's going on in real estate." But then you can actually take the report, which is several hundred pages, and dive deep and find micro areas what's actually happening, and they do a great job with that. I do read. I don't read, but I skim the earnings report, the unemployment report every month, because the top numbers are often misleading. They just are. I want to know more of a what is going on, not what just happened, sort of thing, like a deeper dive, so to speak. And what I mean by that is, like during the pandemic, we saw unemployment get up to around 15% or so, 17%, whatever that was. But then if you actually break out the unemployment report, there was no way this real estate market could do anything but go up, because the home buyers and home sellers didn't actually lose their jobs. Unemployment for those sectors remained almost unchanged. The two sectors that really got affected were hospitality. So like, your restaurants and things like that hit an upwards of at one point over 25% unemployment, and transportation, because shelter in place, people weren't moving around a lot. And those guys are largely not in the real estate market, or not in the real estate market yet. Right. So looking at that, we saw some scary numbers about this time last year, but the reality was those higher dollar earners, like your attorneys, your accountants, doctors, nurses, all of that, they were still gainfully employed. And that's the information I wanted.
Yeah, the unemployment rate was really high, Cody, but the reality is like it was like two sectors were completely wiped out. Mm-hmm. Everybody else was kind of working. It was like, and then you looked at like income levels, like there were certain income levels that really got wiped out, but for the most part, when you looked at the demographic of home buyers and sellers, like you're 35 and up, like those kind of just different demographics, whatever they were, for the most part, they were pretty healthy, and it bounced back quickly. It's really interesting, by the way, if you just read, like you take the headline, whatever that headline is, and you just like read 5 more paragraphs, you can usually start to unearth actually what things are actually going on. And actually, like you can start to not predict. It's really hard to predict things, but you can kind of predict like where things are going. It's interesting how that works. By the way, Cody, as a PSA, as a side note, listen, man, lean into what interests you. Like this stuff interests Mike, and he loves deep diving into it. I'll dive into it as a business practice, but I'll surface it more than what Michael. Michael really deep into like emerging tech and all that stuff. It doesn't interest me, so I don't deep dive. But on the flip side, like human psychology super interests me, so I dive way deeper into that than Mike does. So my point is like, this is like figure out what interests you and dive into that. We're an economy of experts, you guys. We're an economy of experts. And so sometimes like you want to keep up with the Joneses or be a generalist or know everything about everything. But it's like, listen, there's some real power in running towards what interests you and being an expert at that. Anyway, all right, sorry. PSA. Because reading about emerging tech sounds miserable to me.
Really?
Oh, whatever. Like I'm the guy
AI and self-driving cars and going to models and like all the things. Like
The
all
new
the things
iPhone comes out. The new iPhone comes out. I buy it 2 years later. I don't care. It's like I just rather pay less for it.
but it's like Apple Day. It's like a holiday. Like
I
we take
know
the day
you
off.
love Apple Day. I know.
Yeah.
But in fact, I was looking up. We want to buy a new TV, and so I've been looking up like OLED technology. Apparently, is like the thing, but apparently it's been a thing for a while. And so I sent my buddy a link from Costco. Like, is this a good TV? And he was like, yeah, I think there's might be some newer tech. And I was like, okay, send that to me. And it was double the price. And I was like, it ain't that much newer. It ain't double the price newer. Right? OLED? Is that what I should get, Mike?
Yes. Yes.
He's like, yes. Where have you been? There you go. Lean into what you're good at. Lean into what interests you.
And there are different levels because there's like QLED and there's all the things, right?
Do you want to pick my TV for me?
No, because I'm going to pick the $6,000 TV.
Okay, but if
I mean,
I
it's
give
not
you
my
a
money.
budget,
It's your, I mean,
wow, but okay, if I give you a budget,
I'm spending my money, so I'll spend some money.
word. Okay, but if I gave you a budget, could you help me pick a TV?
Yeah. Seriously, yeah, I could do that.
All right, deal. Ladies and gentlemen, we just figured it out. All right. With these sort of market changes, obviously direct choices. Huh. So what Rashiko's asking is if you're a real estate agent, how much of this conversation should you be having on a technical level with the client? Is that how you're understanding that question, Mike?
Let me see. Okay, I think I understand the question. With these sorts of market changes, obviously direct choices you make at top end leadership figures. How do you think the average agent should apply this information to help our clients? Honestly, I think the same, right? So like the way that we're looking at this is like eventually this market is going to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. And when it does, it takes the news 6 months to a year to catch up on anything real estate, because real estate's a very slow moving ship, right? Because it's so big, right? Unlike stocks or tech or, Bitcoin or Dogecoin or whatever all that stuff is, right? It's a very slow moving ship. So what's going to happen is we're going to start seeing the real estate market slow up to a more reasonable level. I hate saying slow up because it sounds like downturn, and that's not what I intend to put out into the world. What I intend to say is we'll probably see the number of buyers in the market reduced by 10 or 15%, which will have no real effect on real estate values as far as a negative goes. It'll just affect, how many offers it takes to win a home instead of 3, 2 or 3, right? When that happens, the corollary is sellers won't know that that's happening. And frankly, most real estate agents won't know that's happening until 6 to 12 months after it happened. Right. Which also means that pricing, like we're putting some properties on the market at prices that we're looking at. We're like, all right, this is just dumb. And yet they're getting offers. That's going to go away. The skill is going to being able to have that conversation with the seller and show them the data and show them the points as to where we need to actually be priced, right? What improvements we need to do to max out the value of that home. Because on one level, it's very easy to sit there and say, especially, I can go get any real estate agent, put the property on the market and sell it. And that's very true. If it's an unskilled agent, will they get the highest sales price? Absolutely not. Probably not within 5 or 10% of it, frankly.
Yeah.
But they'll get the thing sold. But let's harken back to, I use the word harken, go all the way back to 2008. If you had an unskilled agent or a reasonably skilled agent, 6 out of 10 homes that went on the market sell at all. So then the highly skilled agents were the ones that could explain to sellers, hey, this is where we're going. This is the market. This is what's happening today. And these are the choices we need to make, which as often as not, half of my appointments to go and meet with a seller, put their home on the market resulted in, oh, I didn't realize the market was where it is. I'm going to choose not to move for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's not the wrong answer either, right? My job, I see it as being a consultant, providing the best data and the best information so that a family can make the best choice for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that results in me getting hired to sell a home. Sometimes that results in a family saying, now is not the time. Neither of those being wrong answers. So to kind of land the plane on this, I think as an agent, you just got to be cognizant of what those market changes are and how you've got to coach your clients around it. So 6 months from now, as we're going into winter, is the market still going to be this hot? Probably not quite this hot. So, and what I mean by that, if you've got a guy that is, let's say home is worth, I don't know, 600,000, and you put it up for 650, are you going to get an offer today? Probably. Will it be the best offer? Probably not. But at least you'll get an offer. For the house will get an offer at all.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Boy, I got to tell you, no, I think you're good. Rashiko, God, this is a really interesting question. It's part, I know internally it's a big reason why we're constantly talking to our agents about this kind of stuff and trying to get the forefront of information and all this stuff so that we can have great conversations. In general, I think, Mike, there's a lot of anxiety out there just about the market. There's just a lot of anxiety about what's going on, and it's really interesting. One of the things, we had a big team meeting this week. We called it an all team advance. We do them quarterly. Well, we hadn't been doing them, right, because they didn't. We hadn't been doing them because the governor, not the governor, the Department of Health and Human Services was limiting how many people we could put in a room. So we hadn't been doing them. We hadn't done it since November, and we did a big one here last week. And one of the things that I talked about with the group was American optimism and culture, right? And it was part of a bigger kind of narrative that I was talking about, and I spun. But Warren Buffett talks about all this all the time. You actually talked about it here this morning, American ingenuity. What they didn't bet on in 1985 was American ingenuity, and that the fact that we figure out a way, right? And Warren Buffett always talks about bet on America. He just says it all the time, right? You've heard him say it. And there's a thing within our American culture that we don't even understand that we have sometimes. But it's there. And so one of the things that I talked about was like Ellis Island, where a huge amount of immigrants came into America, from 1892 to 1954. They closed Ellis Island. There was 12 million immigrants that came through Ellis Island and were processed through Ellis Island and then went out into the country, right, from all over the place. Matter of fact, Anton Pothast was my ancestor that came over and had 2 T's on his name, TT instead of POTH. Anyway, but everybody that went into Ellis Island, because you have the boat, right, and you got to go right by the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty is optimism, like the American dream. You can be whatever you want to be. It's optimism, right? And so these 12 million people, every single one of them went by the Statue of Liberty. And even to this day, if you go to New York City, you go and you look at the Statue of Liberty, and it represents something, right? It represents something: liberty, freedom from oppression, optimism, right? All these things. And what's interesting is then those 12 million people went out and had babies and grandbabies and all kinds of stuff, right? And that's impacted the way that we think here in America. And we have an optimism that we don't even realize that other countries don't have. Like this pull up out of the bootstraps, all the cliches, but it's real. It's real. That's why they call America the land of opportunity. And so sometimes we even look at the news, Mike, and everybody's talking about how bad it is here and this and that and everything else. And by the way, we've got our problems, right? It's like any family. Every family has their problems, right? You can't choose your family, right? But by and large, we figure out a way. We figure out a way. We figured out a way during the pandemic. We figured out a way in 2008. We figured out a way after 9/11. Before that, we figured out a way after the Gulf Storm, the Gulf War. Before that, we figured out a way with massive inflation in the 70s and 80s. Before that, we figured out a way in Vietnam. Before that, we figured out a way in the baby boom era, and we figured out a way during World War II and I and the Great Depression and the Industrial Revolution and the War of 1812 and all, like, we figure out a way. It's who we are. It's like, it's actually ingrained in our culture. And so sometimes what we do is we get so caught up in like the here and now, and we get caught in this place of anxiety and worry about things. But it's like, hey, the home that you buy, everybody, is the home that you live in with your family. It's where you have whatever your faith is, right? It's where you have graduation parties and Christmases and bar mitzvahs or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that's important to you and your family. And it's the bedrooms that you need for your kids, and it's the lifestyle that you want. And it's not just an economic engine. And the truth of the matter is that there's never been on a macro level a 5 or even, I actually even think it's a 5-year period, but there's never been a 5-year period on a macro level, on a whole economic level in America, where you would have lost money on home ownership.
Right.
So people get buyer fatigue right now, Mike, or they're like, how can I time the market? Well, you can't. And the market that you buy in is the market that you sell in, and the market that you sell in is the market that you buy in. And the reality is like, look, if you're going to be living in that house for 5 years, you're going to make money on a macro level. Like, there are some micro neighborhoods, like Wixom Lake, way up in the lake that disappeared up in Midland. Like, sorry, that's a micro economy, and but on a macro level, it's like, if you're buying into a home to raise a family and go to schools and that kind of stuff, like, you're going to be okay. And we get so caught up in what the prices are, or what's going to happen, and this and that. But the reality is this is where you and your family have to live. And bet on America. Bet on America. The real winners in our economy know to do that. Does that make sense? Is it Sanford Lake? Thank you, Snapper Dan. Yeah. Sorry, I'm on a big old tangent, but sometimes we just live in this place of fear. We just live in this place of fear, when in reality, like, you got to live somewhere, and it's probably going to be okay. Things are going to be okay, right? I don't know. Sorry, soapbox over.
You're good, man. That was a good soapbox.
Soapbox over. Anyhow, I forget what we were talking about.
Yeah, I think we were talking about how do we apply this to our clients.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but, that's not a bad one either.
That's pretty good. Rashiko, I can't get behind that. I at least upgraded from the BlackBerry. And Nicole, I had a BlackBerry when we first started dating, right? Yeah, okay. What year did I get rid of that BlackBerry? 2013, 2014.
Okay,
we got there.
What year did the iPhone come out? Was that 07?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Covenant deed.
Good question. All right, so covenant deed versus warranty deed. Pretty simple. Warranty deed goes back forever, right? It just covers anything. Whereas a covenant deed will only cover you during the time that last previous owner owned the property. So to explain this a little better, right? Let's say that there's an old lien on a property from 20 years ago, from not the current owner, but the owner before that, and they just have not been able to clear that off. You can still convey a covenant deed and say, okay, I'm going to warrant and guarantee the deed during my ownership of this property, but not the guy before me. Right?
Yep.
Typically speaking, I see this most often used when there's a bank that has gone out of business like 30 years ago, and they never released the lien on the property for some sort of an old mortgage that doesn't even exist. Actually, to be fair, actually I had this happen. God, it must be 9 or 10 years ago. So for a hot minute there, it's like Ohio Savings went out of business, and all those mortgages were bought by IndyMac, and then IndyMac went out of business. All those were bought by Countrywide. Countrywide went out of business, and then all of those were bought by Bank of America, right? Or LaSalle, and then later on Bank of America. So it was like 4 different mortgage transfers, and it was the mortgage. I mean, everybody knew that this dude's mortgage was refinanced already, and that mortgage was paid off. But one of those banks in that row failed to file the paperwork, right? In the deed in the county office. And so it looked like that there was potentially a mortgage for 80 some odd thousand on this $500,000 property. So we conveyed a covenant deed instead of a warranty deed, because there was no way we could track down the actual paper of the mortgage, because it had transferred so many companies and frankly just got lost. It sucked. Yeah. Yeah. And the buyer had to also switch mortgage companies because the first mortgage company wouldn't accept the covenant deed. And very, very few mortgage companies in today's world will. The better way to do it is quiet title, right? Which is a whole different process. So with quiet title, and a lot of times where that comes in most often that I see is when somebody potentially could have ownership in a property and maybe they passed away 30, 40 years ago. Right. And the property's been sold a couple of times, but that ownership still might be there. Right. Quiet title is where you go grab an attorney, they go to court, they file a date, they go in front of the judge. Judge says, great, I can quiet title. And which is another way of saying I will clean up the title. I will remove any liens, encumbrance, clouds, judgments, whatever that looks like. But you have to go and post it in a public place 3 times, like the legal news, right? Advertise like, hey, if anybody does have any sort of claim on this property, you've got 30 days to come forward or forever hold your peace. And then if they don't come forward, then the judge will go ahead and clean the title up.
Yep.
And that's what happens more often than a covenant deed, because a lot of mortgage companies won't accept a deed with any sort of a defect on it or a potential defect. I just got way technical. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I'll go more basic.
Sure.
Title, you guys, title insurance. I mean, right, here's how it works. It's like when you own something, there's a title. Like if you've ever sold a car, right, there's like a little sheet, the title. And if there's a lien on the title, the Secretary of State has a little stamp on there, whatever that says this, or whatever the bank, whatever Chase Bank or Community Financial Credit Union or whatever it is, has a little stamp. And then you have to show that you don't owe that lien anymore, or you have to pay off that lien in order to transfer that title, right? The first thing you have to do is pay off the lien.
Yep.
A house works the same way. And so what a title insurance company will do is they'll ensure that title is good. Like because these liens are nothing more than like somebody takes a piece of paper down to the county, a notarized piece of paper down to the county, and they put it in a file. And like even a first and second mortgage, you guys, is like whoever filed it first versus whoever filed it second. And so title insurance will protect you in case there's any discrepancies on title. And it's an insurance policy. That's why the banks, when you get a mortgage, require title insurance. Anyway, but
you know what? This is a good segue. Okay, so
yeah.
And this has been brought to me 3 times now in the last couple of months. So it's a real thing, although I haven't Googled it or found out what companies it is. But 3 times now I've been told that there's some sort of a national company that's doing title monitoring for a monthly fee, like $20 or $30 a month, similar to credit report monitoring. Okay. So like you've got your credit report monitoring, like with no insurance, like a Credit Karma, where you can just watch your score and watch any changes, or with like an Identity IQ, which is not free, which is like $20 or $30 a month, which will also, monitor you and has some sort of insurance against, credit fraud or whatever that looks like. Right. But I've heard a couple of times now that there's a company that's now charging for title monitoring, and they will send you an email or a letter or something. I don't know what they do if something pops up on your title. And that it's just
doing that
and garbage. Yeah, people pay for this. Complete snake oil and garbage. Because anything that's filed on your title, the county is going to mail to you anyway. It just is what it is. So
look at my face. I'm like, really?
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Well, I heard it once and I was like, no, that's not a thing. And I heard it again. I'm like, that might be a thing. And then I heard it again yesterday. And like somebody actually took the time to describe it to me. And I was like, huh. 3 people, 3 very, very different, like they don't even run into each other people, right? But apparently this is the thing that's being advertised on a national level, like this title monitoring service similar to credit monitoring. Don't do it. Don't take that $9.95 and go to Dairy Queen. It's so much better.
Dude, go to Dairy Queen.
Yeah. Yeah. That brownie Oreo confection, it's like $5. You got another $5 to do something else with. I just better use money.
Go to Wendy's and get a 4 for $4 box, and then go to Dairy Queen. Just like get your fat on and don't.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't believe people are doing that. Wow.
Yeah. Just completely flabbergasted by that whole concept.
Yeah.
But anyway, don't waste your money. whether it's $10 a month, $20 a month, $30, doesn't matter. Don't waste the money. Don't waste the money. The county will notify you. If somebody tries to put a lien on your property, they will notify you. You know, when you refinance and get a new mortgage on the property, a couple weeks later, a month and a half later, you're going to get a letter from the county saying, hey, there's a new lien and this one was taken off, this was put on. And most people don't even, you know, they see the letter and they're like, oh, this must pertain to the mortgage I just got. And then they just put it in the recycle bin, right? As they should, because it's not new news that you went and refinanced.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I learn something new every day. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah. It is crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Then again, going back to the American ingenuity, this is so interesting to me. Like, just not going on a soapbox, but there are so many.
You're not going on an Ellis Island soapbox?
No. But there are so many legit ways to make money in this country. I feel like it's even harder to go illegal or illegitimate, because now you got to worry about a whole nother thing, and that's getting caught in all that. And that's a whole nother stressor. It's like, why not just do the right thing and make an income for your family?
Yeah.
You know, because in this country, that's how this works. Like, we can do that. We have those freedoms and those capabilities. I just don't understand. I honest to God don't understand.
Huh.
You know, and I mean, actually, I'll use a good example of this. So, because I'm just going to go off on my own little tangent now.
Yeah.
What's his name? Bernie Madoff, that did the Ponzi scheme with the investors and all the things, right? Okay, so before he did that, he was averaging 50 to 75 million in profit on his investment firm legally per year. Legally. He was making another 50 to 75 million on average per year in profit off the Ponzi scheme. But I just got to ask the question, especially in the 80s and early 90s, what could you not buy at 50 to 75 million in income per year that you needed more money? Right? I mean, there's no other reason than just sheer greed. And the second follow-up question to that is, okay, if you figured out a way to create a company from zero that makes that kind of money, why not just do more of that?
Scale it.
That's it.
All you got to do is scale it. Yeah.
So instead of looking internally and saying, what kind of leader do I need to be to take this company of 300 people and make it 600, to take this company of 5,000 clients and make it 10,000, he went external and was like, okay, what could I do to rip the people off, because I'm not willing to undergo the work to become who I need to be to get to that level, which I just flabbergasted that $50 million per year is not enough income for somebody to live on.
Yeah.
I don't know I'm ever going to, I don't know that myself, my kids, and my parents together will ever make that kind of money in our lives if we live double our current lifespan.
Well, if you think like that.
You know what I mean. And what I mean to say is we're just fine.
No,
and we're not making that kind of money.
Well, okay. Speak for yourself.
Okay. Yeah, you could take it that way. You could take it that way.
He's so mad at me right now. Wake up and be awesome and talk trash to Michael Perna.
That's right. That's right. The day is done.
The day is done. Yeah. Here, I'll throw that comment up. Anyway, Cody. What else? What other questions do you guys have? By the way, good morning. First time on this. We do this every single Saturday. We do it at 10 a.m. We've been doing it for like a year and a half. And matter of fact, it's like my favorite thing of the week, Mike, just being in front of you guys and answering questions and talking about real estate. Like, I have so much fun with this. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be in front of you all. And so throw your questions in the post. Again, I'm Austin Pothast. I'm the director of sales on the team. Mike Perna is our CEO. And man, we've had everything this morning. We've talked to like these, we've talked economics lessons, we've talked about CPI, we've talked about Ponzi schemes, we've talked about, it's just been a morning, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What are the questions you guys have? We talked about covenant deeds. What are the questions you guys have? I love it. I love it. Here's a good one for you. Ready, Mike?
Yeah.
So it's Father's Day coming up, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the most important thing your dad taught you?
Oh.
It's a heavy question, right? By the way, any of you guys that are watching, I feel free to throw in, what's the most important thing your dad taught
Yeah.
you?
Probably two things. The value of hard work to get what you want.
Okay.
There's no shortcuts. You just get out there and chop the wood every day.
Yeah.
And just do the right thing. And you know my dad, just do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Like, I mean, and he's like to the point that even doing the wrong thing just is not in his DNA. It never actually occurs to him.
Yeah.
He's just not built that way, right? And people aren't just built that way. It's a combination of choices that change who you are over time. But all of those choices, I watched him over, essentially from what I can remember, 35 years, make them every single day.
Yeah.
And work hard for others every single day. Work hard for his family every single day. And do the things every single day.
Yeah. I like that. You know, it's funny, man. I actually had this conversation with some of the agents this week. Like, hard work won't guarantee you get the life that you want or guarantee that you get success, but it is the prerequisite.
Yep.
You can't do it without it, right?
Yep.
I actually think probably the top thing that my father taught me was very similar, like sacrifice for your family, right? Like do the work, sacrifice for your family, be consistent, be consistent every day, show up, right?
Yeah.
There's some real power in consistency, by the way. Like, and you talked about chopping wood. That's a reference, by the way. John Maxwell talks about that, and John Maxwell's a big, he's a leadership author, right? I don't know, right? How else would you describe John Maxwell? Leadership author.
Yeah. Leadership.
Matter of fact, he comes from the church world, and he built these big kind of. Anyway, one of the things he talks about, I saw him speak live once, and one of the things he talks about is like if you have a big old oak tree in your front yard, if you just go out there every day and take 5 swings at it, like eventually the tree is going to fall, and that's just the value of consistency. So that's what Mike's talking about with chopping wood. But yeah, I really like that. Do the right thing. Do the right thing's a good one too. The most important thing my dad taught me is the value of keeping your word. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Chanel, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Chop wood, consistent. But I like that. Hard work won't guarantee you success, but it is the prerequisite. All right, throw up Snapper Dan's.
Got it.
My dad taught me failure is inevitable. Learning is up to you. Yeah, that's really good. Man, how many times have you failed in your life, Mike?
Every day.
Every day. Like for real, every day, right?
Yeah.
That's like sometimes it's just like I'll fail at a conversation. It's like I'll get off that conversation and be like, man, I could have done a better job. But whatever. Like, so it's inevitable. You know what's funny? It's like I call it the power of the Oreo. Have you ever heard me talk about this? The power of Oreo. Here's the power of the Oreo. Ready, guys? Like if you ate 2 Oreos every single day. By the way, nobody's eating 2 Oreos at once. You're eating if I'm getting into the Oreos, it's like a sleeve. You know what I mean? But the power of 2 Oreos. If you ate 2 Oreos every day, the compounding effect over time is this. So it's probably about 100 calories worth of Oreos. I know that there's 365 days in a year. That's 36,500 calories. I know there's 3,500 calories in a pound of body weight. And so if I ate 2 Oreos a day, that's it. That I would gain 10, 11 pounds every year. And if I did that over 10 years, I'd gain 100 pounds, right? It's like 2 Oreos. That's it. Seemingly insignificant things, but it actually works the other way too, right? It actually works the other way too. So sometimes here's what happens is something like if you think about it the other way and you think about it something positive, the version of 2 Oreos, like getting better every day, 2 Oreos represents getting better every day. If you miss one day of 2 Oreos, it's nothing. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's like in the grand scheme of things, missing one day or one conversation or having one failure is nothing. Like what you can't do. And so here's sometimes what we do is like something bad will happen to us. And then like we'll live in that space for a couple days, a couple weeks or a month. And then a month turns into 6 months. And then 6 months turns into a year. And the year turns into your life. It's just like, and like you just let one mistake weigh on you. And I'm not saying that there aren't certain mistakes that you make in your life that you never shake off. And we're a forgiving society. Like it's when you keep moving forward, it works out. Right. And so this is about if you take a mistake and just look at it like, okay, well, whatever. I missed 2 Oreos today. I'll just get back up on it tomorrow. The worst thing that you could do with making a mistake is let it drag you down for a week.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a new day. You know what I mean? So failure is inevitable. Learning from it is up to you. And by the way, I don't know about you, Mike, like shit, man, I've learned way more by failure than I have by success. Haven't you?
100%.
100%.
Because I mean, if I didn't fail, I didn't learn. There's no lesson. I just move on to the next thing. If I fail, then I step back and analyze, okay, what went right? What went wrong? What could I do different next time? And I got to tell you, there are so few failures out there that can't be rebounded from. I mean, I don't know how many stories there are out there that are just riddled with, made $1 million, went to zero, made $1 million, went to zero, made $1 million again. Like it just, you can Google it. There's probably hundreds, whatever that looks like. If we're talking about finance, if we're talking about personal interaction, I think, and this is my feeling, if somebody gets a conversation wrong, it took me a long time to learn this, but pick up the phone and do it again. Yeah. Just call them back and say, hey, you know what? I don't feel great about that conversation. Can I get a do-over? The words that came out of my mouth and what I intended were 2 different things. And I'm not comfortable with that, with leaving that to go forward. Can I get a do-over? That's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for a long time, I thought like once the conversation was done, it was done. And that's not the case.
Yeah. God, that's a good reminder. That's a really good reminder. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
No teacher like failure.
Yeah. One of our guys did that a couple weeks ago.
Huh.
I heard about that. It was just not a great conversation between 2 of our people on the team. And then one of them called back and said, you know what? Sorry, that was not a great conversation. Let's do it again. And then the other person took the time to call me to let me know what happened because they were so impressed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. God, and sometimes when we screw up one of those things, it just like weighs on us. You ever like lost sleep over a bad conversation or a mistake that you made?
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just redo it. Just call and just ask for forgiveness. It's like the power of I'm sorry too. It's like,
Yeah.
Being genuine. Anyhow, really good stuff today. All right, what else, guys? What other questions do you have? Yeah. Well, it's a great point. Like sometimes it's just pride that get in our way. It's like and how many decisions do you make out of like you don't want to be embarrassed?
Oh my gosh, all the time. Like it's either pride or fear. Those are kind of the 2 driving motivators.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's really good. Holy cow, we went from real estate to life philosophy, I guess, huh?
We went all over the world today. All over the world.
This is the stuff I love thinking about. You love thinking about emerging markets or whatever, emerging tech. This is stuff I love to think about. It's good. Being a human.
What else we got, guys?
What else we got? We got 5 minutes. Come on.
Yeah, Tony Robbins. 100%.
I've never really. I mean, I've read some of his stuff. I've never done a super deep dive with Tony.
He's good.
Yeah, not like a super.
Yeah. Tony focuses a lot more on the power of self than the power of leadership going outward.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing, just a different focus.
Just a different focus. Yeah, yeah.
I don't have it right here. I thought I had him on this bookshelf, but he's got a good book on money, which is no different than any of the other like Dave Ramsey style or Choose FI or that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to read any of them, that's just like Tony Robbins' book called Money is just as good as Ramsey or just as good as Choose FI. And you don't need to read all three. I mean, just read one and you get the concept.
Yeah.
Basically, like save money and then save more money and put it into things like 401ks and retirements, max that out first, and then have another slush fund and then go and buy some houses.
Yep.
Like literally, okay, there you go. No, nobody needs to read any of those books now.
That's what they teach you.
That's it. That's like 300 pages. Boom.
Get some money in the bank for an emergency fund, then pay off your bills, then start investing, and then
yeah. But yes, I am a very big Tony Robbins fan. Yeah, when I'm having a down day, I will pull up one of his videos. I know it's on a different level, but also pull up The Rock. He's got some great vids out there. Well, I just need a little bit of a motivator.
Dude, Hugh on our team sent me a Will Smith video. Have you seen the one where he talks about it? If we both get on a treadmill, one of two things are happen. Either I'm going to outrun you or I'm going to die.
Yep. That's a great one. That's a great video. Actually, throw that that link in the chat, will you?
Yeah, let me find it.
I want it. Yeah.
I actually might play it for the group this week.
Yeah. I got it's such a great video. And Will Smith is like, I will outwork you, period.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the thing. That's just his jam and his deal. Yeah. Yeah. He's motivating. Matthew McConaughey's got a great The Rock, of course, has a couple of great videos out. There's some good stuff out there.
I think this is it.
Pick me up. Those are kind of my go-tos.
I think this is it.
There we go.
I think that's it. I might be wrong. I didn't click on it. So let me click on it. Yeah, that's oh wait. This one's called Hustle. Maybe not.
In strange times.
Maybe I didn't. Maybe I sent the wrong one.
Yeah.
Well,
David Hockney is great.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Or Goggins. Yeah.
Goggins. Yeah.
I saw that and I thought the same thing. I'm like, that didn't look quite right, but I'm going to go with it.
Yeah. All right. You want to get out of here, Mike?
Let's do it.
Okay. You want to wish me Happy Father's Day?
Dude, Happy Father's Day. I'm going to wish you Happy Father's Day tomorrow. I'm going to do that too, in fact.
Do it twice. By the way, happy birthday to you this week. Mike turned 40 this week.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
I did.
I got him a Mandalorian Lego set.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty dope, huh?
Yeah, which is all over my kitchen table right now.
Really? You're building it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll be done.
Hey, let's talk about. Hey, we're crazy appreciative of your time. We're crazy appreciative for the families that we serve. We're crazy appreciative for those of you that choose to be led by us. Anyway, tons of gratitude out there. Tons of good vibes out to you guys, and we'll see you next week. And for those on the team, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you.
See ya.